Will I see it through the video link?
I thought that we were gonna watch it through the stream because we don't want to pause it, so it would make sense to just do that. But
That's
if you
chill.
wanted,
I mean, yeah, I don't need to really see it in time if we're not going to pause it.
yeah.
That's
So
fair.
like that was my plan because I don't want to
Cool.
pause it. I wanted to like let it. If I pause it once, it's gonna mean it's a pausing video, and it's gonna be one of those those videos.
You're right. Yes, we'll chat about it before and after. Okay.
Okay. Oh, here you are. You look so cute. Oh my
Thank you very
god,
much.
you look so good. My god,
I'm glad you like the look.
I'm sick. I'm vomiting right now. You look so cute. Your makeup looks really good too.
Thank you. I need to get a new mascara. I saw you doing mascara, and I was like, shit, because mine's. I don't know what happened. I think I left it for a little bit
All
too long. And
gunky
it's
or
just
whatever.
clumpy. Yeah.
For me,
Sucks.
it gets clumpy and also it gets full of rabbit fur because my rabbit just like
of course.
her fur is just like so fine and like soft and like beautiful and stuff. But like that means it like floats just everywhere. And so I think in the new place, I'm going to get an air filter because I cannot take any more of my makeup. Just like
that makes sense.
Like a spoolie, just like, ugh, it's disgusting. So.
Thank you, chat, saying that I look good. Thank you very much. I've worn a special look. This is a new dress I got today. I'm wearing new shoes. I mean, you can't see them, but I'm wearing new shoes I got today.
Oh my god!
And because I'm excited, and also because for the most of the video, I look like shit. Because I did, you'll see it, but I did this look, which is like I'm kind of like a bit of a shut-in conspiracy. Like I got my like board with the red strings, and I got this top, which I think is really funny. Like Nat wasn't sold on it. I think she's come around on it a little bit now, but it's like these dogs having a date, and it says this date sucks, and it's like I find it really funny, but but like the joke of the shirt is that it looks like you're a kind of crazy cat lady or whatever. So I'm countering that by looking good for the premiere.
I'm so excited. How long have you been working on this video?
Jesus Christ.
Because it feels like it's been a really long time.
Yeah, I read conspiracy research for fun because I love conspiracy theories. And when I started doing that, it was over a year ago, probably more like 18 months. And at this point, you could say I've been working on it for 18 months, but like I basically about a year ago, after like people who were in BreadTube split off and then were saying a bunch of like absolutely whack nonsense, and they started like bringing Caleb Maupin into their sphere and all of this stuff.
Oh my god!
Everyone was having the same problem. How do we define who these people are?
Mm-hmm.
My friend Jack had an amazing line, which is they are the not like other leftists, like the same way as like I'm not like other girls, like, but like for leftists, because that's what they were doing all the time. Like all their posts were just like leftists think that blah, 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 and it was just like really cringe. But I was like, it's still like that was the best name we had for them. And I was saying to Nat, you know what they are? They're the conspiracy left, because this thing happened where somebody made a chart of conspiracy theories explaining the less harmful all the way through to like the more harmful ones. And these people specifically were all sharing it, being like, no, these are good. You should be endorsing the Great Reset. You should be sharing those conspiracy theories around. And I was like, that's it, isn't it? You're the conspiracy left. You guys all think like conspiracy theorists. And then I started saying it. And Nat was like, you I respect what you're saying, but you can't say that publicly. You can't publicly call these people that, because that's not, I don't think that there's enough kind of backing up that to make it clear. And people don't understand what you mean. And I was like, that's fine. I'll just say it to you. I don't have to say it publicly.
Yeah.
And then the absolute turning point was Peter Coffin shared. I mean, I'll start spoiling the video a bit if I get too much into it. But the absolute turning point was Peter Coffin shared a thing promoting the horse dewormer. And
no.
I showed Nat it, and I was like, so the conspiracy left then. And she was like, oh my God. and then it's like I've brought about all this research, which, as I say, I started reading for fun and for personal interest, and it's something I've always been interested in. And the more I brought it to analyze these people, the more I understood this is exactly what they are. And I've had so much feedback at this point now that the video is up for my patrons, where people are coming to me and they're going like, thank you so much for talking about like the gray zone like this. Thank you so much for talking about like this and this and this like this, because I've wanted someone to explain what's wrong with these guys for ages, and I just can't, like, no one's doing it. And I have the same thing. Like, in the lead up to this, loads of people have been calling, I mean, we've had this discussion on this stream multiple times, like the word tanky and how kind of meaningless it is, because like it's ultimately just like a word that libs use to mean a communist I don't like. Like literally you can be explaining why there should not be intervention somewhere, and someone will call you a tanky, which originates as a phrase for saying that there should be intervention from communist countries.
Tankies famously like, don't want tank sense in.
Right, yeah. Like,
it's like, what is happening?
It's so frustrating, right? And so it's kind of a meaningless word, but I saw people calling these people tankies. I've seen people calling them red browns. And the biggest problem is people keep on trying to define them ideologically. They're like, these people are Strasserite or something. And I'm like, well, if you're talking about, if the people you're talking about are like Gray Zone, everyone in Caleb Maupin's orbit, Jimmy Dore, right? These people do not have the same ideology. What they have is the same outlook on the world, and what that is defined by conspiracism.
Are you telling me that like a weird culty rally with the huge head of Abraham Lincoln, also with like Soviet flags or like a Russia flag and like a China flag? You're telling me this is like not an ideology that everyone is actually like even understanding? You're telling me that this is just a fucked up amalgamation of just nonsensical vibes, I guess?
There are allegations that I cannot make publicly yet, which I am going to have to check over before I talk about that rally too much. But I will announce now the next Cringe Corner is going to be about that rally.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay,
yeah, like, literally, so, like,
Chad, if you don't know, tell him about Cringe Corner. Is I want to make sure we get this out, because Chad, if you haven't seen already, we watched Cringe Corner on our stream, but we haven't done it nearly enough. Sophie and Thought Slime have this series called like Cringe Corner, where they kind of like go through some, like, it was like the NFT video before about what was it called, Lieberland? Or no, it wasn't Lieberland. That's a different one. Cryptoland. Lieberland's a different land, by the way. This is a different thing before NFTs. Yeah. But like you and Thought Slime are going to be doing another one on this like fucking rally. This, oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, sorry to cut you off.
Cringe Corner came about because like Mildred's one of my favorite people. We've been friends for ages and ages. We've always wanted to collab on something, and sort of periodically every like 6 months or so. We've known each other like 4 years, and every 6 months or so we would message one another and just be like, we should collab. So we should collab. What should we do a thing? And the idea was always like, we should get together and make a video essay together about like comic books or something, because like just stuff we have in common. And then like one day I saw how stressed she was about like projects and having to get stuff out on time, and I was just like, hey, if you want to have some kind of content where generating it is pretty easy, I know we could come up with a format really easily for something really fun.
Because you shoot the shit, and it's like so chill. It's great. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell yeah.
And then that's what happened, and it just came together so well, and now it's one of the best things that I do. I love it. Yeah, so the next one will be about the CPI Cringe Con.
That's great. So. That's fucking great. I'm so excited. Anyway, so yeah, so they're not let's go back to what you're saying. So you're saying that this conspiracy left, it's not that they necessarily agree, they've honed this ideology, and
how familiar are you with Jimmy Dore?
Okay, so somewhat. Okay, so what I know of Jimmy Dore is, first of all, I still can't believe that this guy has like a platform, because whenever I like get a peek of it, it looks like some shock jock put his stuff to video, but
That's
and
exactly
that's
what
the
he is,
entire
yeah.
format has never like ever changed. And I know this because I used to be a Shock Jock fan, like an unironic fan.
Right,
I was one of those douchebags. So when I say this, I'm like, this is should have died already, but it's still here. And so that's
Jimmy Dore.
sorry. Oh my God.
The best way I saw someone sum up Jimmy Dore was there was actually an article from a Jimmy Dore fan, which was called "My Most Trusted Source of Political Commentary Comes from a Jagoff Nightclub Comedian that says bad things about the mainstream media." And that is more or less the whole of what Jimmy Dore is. Like, he just defines himself in opposition to like Rachel Maddow, and so he's not a fucking tanky. He's not like a fucking, a Marxist, like an old school Marxist devastated by the fall of the USSR who wants the comrades to rise again. Like, he's not any of this shit. Like, he's mostly like, he's absolutely a socialist. Like, he absolutely advocates for Medicare for all the time. Like, his approach going into the pandemic was like, all the approaches that the government is making are wrong because Medicare for all would solve all of these problems way more effectively. And he was right about that. And that's true and valid. And like, it's very much a stopped clock thing because he'll, increasingly he's just like a fucking grumpy, cranky old boomer who has terrible opinions. But he does say some okay stuff.
I would say that people like, I want to push back a teeny tiny bit because I'm always wary about calling people like that socialists. Unless we think that the word that we're using effectively to describe a socialist is someone who is advocating for policies that help socialize things a little bit more.
Yeah.
But other than that, like,
I get what
it's kind of like, like I know some people in the chat are already like, I just want to let you know, I hear you and I see you and hear you and blah, blah, blah. But I think we can all agree that whatever term you want to like slap onto somebody like that.
Yeah, right. Like, I wouldn't just call him a liberal. Right. My problem is I'm trying to pin down his politics, and that's exactly the issue, right?
He's a liberal, but he's also like he's not like a Biden standing type liberal, right?
Exactly.
So that's the distinction you're trying to make, right?
Guy, actually, that's one thing that you can kind of help to understand.
He's a
the guy
what?
A bit better. Tulsi Gabbard, fucking. Yeah, he sucks. Anyway. But
oh my God, Tulsi Gabbard.
Is
fucking
Caleb Maupin, who calls himself a Marxist-Leninist, and Jimmy Dore. These people are very much aligned, very much in an alliance now. And you'll see in the video.
I am so excited to see this fucking video.
And you can't define these people politically. You can't be like, they have the same, they're both red browns or something like this. You can't actually say that. They do not have the same politics.
Well, Sophie, it just sounds like
that all their politics is dictated by conspiracy theories.
Sophie, it just sounds like you're against a thriving, a robust coalition of various diverse voices coming together to stand against, bad stuff. It sounds like I think you should reevaluate.
Yeah. I saw.
Why are you such a purity tester? It's my question.
I get the checks from Soros once a month, and everything else I do, I just try to. I find
that explains how cute you look. It's all that Soros
That's
money.
All I do.
Got those Soros makeup artists.
Yeah, that's how I could afford a new dress for this premiere.
Right. This is so fascinating. I will say, like, I want to comment something that you said just prior when you're saying that Jimmy Dore is acting in like reaction to someone or some group. I forget. And that's the way that I understand liberals oftentimes is like, at least I can't speak for every country, but I'm extraordinarily aware of like the way that liberals operate, at least in America, especially via the Democratic Party. It seems like they have to rely on a right wing to always bounce off of it and be like, see, we're the ones that are marginally to the left of that, or we're the ones to call out how horrible that is, and that's not okay. And so
Jimmy Dore's a weird guy. This is exactly what I'm saying. It's really hard to pin down what he is.
Because he does align with like the Boogaloo Boys, which are absolute fascists.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Yeah,
so
he has absolutely aligned with a bunch of fash. Anyway, there's only so much we can talk about beforehand because without just talking about what's going to be in the video.
I'm so excited.
But if you have questions about, that kind of don't go into that territory,
Should we do you want to find a way that we can like show the video while showing to you if you wanted to like pause it and talk about it?
We don't need. We should not pause it. You're completely right.
Okay.
No, you were completely right. There's no need to pause it. People should just see it, and then we'll discuss it all afterwards.
Okay, I'm very, very excited. Chat, are you excited? Chat. Jimmy Dore just relies on bouncing off Dems instead. Wait, did Nat get a new name on Twitch?
What? Oh.
Is that
Snornat EP?
I don't want to. I want to make sure that there's not. I'm on a different computer.
That is me.
Okay.
I'm just on a different computer.
Oh, do you have 2 different accounts?
I guess so. Big ADHD moment.
Yeah, big ADHD moment, definitely. Yeah, that's still Nat. She just has 2 Twitch accounts.
Can you tell Nat that you don't have to log on to a different account when you're on a different computer?
She's watching, and she does know that. She just is riddled with ADHD.
Riddle.
If people are wondering who is boosting my views, it's not the CIA. It's my girlfriend making many different accounts and watching.
I knew it.
Watching everything from all of them.
I knew it. I knew it. Okay, so where we? Okay, so oh my god, I'm so fucking excited. Okay,
I'm excited. I've been working on this for such a long time. Yeah, to wrap up that question, I've been working on this for. You could say a year, you could say 18 months, but it's been a long fucking time. And it ballooned, and I really struggled with various aspects, who to include in the video, who to not include, and how, and also how to make it have any kind of flow. Ultimately, the flow of the video is more or less dictated by periods of time and particular conspiracy narratives. We will see different conspiracy theories kind of come and go throughout the video.
Oh my god!
And it more or less starts with like 1997, and it comes through to the present day, and not just the present day, but like the day, because like as I was making it, Russia invaded Ukraine, and we will get to these people's takes on Russia and Ukraine, but we'll see.
Wow. So yeah. It's so fascinating that when you're saying like conspiracy left, I'm thinking about the way that I don't know if it was like Peter Coffin. I'm pulling up the video right now, by the way. I'm thinking about the way that was it Peter Coffin, I think, reacted to I think it was like Elliot Page coming out as trans.
Yeah. And
Peter was like just straight to like how this is some sort of, I don't know if it was like it was some sort of conspiracy-y type vibe, but it was like this suspicion that like there's like a malicious, there's like some sort of undermining of something happening here by not like, it's a celebrity trying to show you how like what it is to be trans. And this isn't like.
I remember that take. It was like trans celebrities who are part of the ruling class because they're celebrities. They have an easier time transitioning than ordinary working class trans people, which like, I don't want to get into this. I don't want to shit talk too much, but Peter Coffin, as far as I'm aware at least, is not medically transitioning and doesn't have any first-hand experience of what the fuck they're talking about there, and can eat my whole ass. But their take was like, these ruling class transgender people will inspire people who are not safe to come out, and it's just like,
wait, that was the take?
Medically transitioning, coming out, being yourself, changing your body to be you is the single most wonderful thing you can do, the most life-affirming, wonderful thing, and it's just a bullshit take. But I don't know if that's conspiracy theory, like conspiracy mind exactly, but it does fit in to something kind of crucial, which we'll definitely cover in the video, which is like just craven contrarianism, like just so desperate to like have the opposite take to other people and define yourself by like the opposite of what they think. Zizek actually calls this political correlationism, because there's a term in particle physics where basically little tiny particles will have opposite spins, and if this one changes or is impacted by something, there's just because of a law of dynamics, this one will be affected. It will change with it, and so that's called correlationism. And so he calls it, right? Like he calls it political correlationism. People, they're like, my enemy thinks this, so I think the opposite thing. And that kind of binaristic thinking, is going to be pretty relevant. Here we go.
What do you want us to title this on screen? I'm also thinking of the land back take, but I'm not going to go into it because I bet you might probably go into it. But like,
we don't talk about the land back take.
Okay, the land back is. I would say that's totally
Yeah.
conspiracy brain. Like this idea that the land back is actually this like super sleuth like thing that the ruling
Land
class
back
is
and
trying to like.
BLM are apparently, according to these people, are billionaire funded neoliberal recuperated movements, and it's just they're literally just pointing to nonprofit organizations which receive money from billionaires and saying those are the movement, therefore you shouldn't go to anything that's branded with Black Lives Matter, you shouldn't engage with anything that's branded with land back because they are these recuperated capitalist movements. And it's like, recuperation is a serious problem, and that's not really how it works. Like that's not really how it works. It doesn't mean that all your activism would just be like, if a movement is pushing for indigenous people to get back their land and have complete sovereignty over it and get to do whatever they fucking want with it, that's not capitalist recuperation, because like that would be given, like that's antithetical to capitalism, which is built off of property rights fundamentally. But if you are this contrarian who needs to explain why everyone else is doing fake leftism that's bad, and you need to explain why you're the smartest and have the best takes, then you point to you go, I'm gonna follow the money. All these guys think that they're Woodward and Bernstein. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm gonna follow the money, and I'm gonna prove that actually these people are bad. And yeah, so that one was definitely a very conspiracy brain one.
All right, I'm calling Sophie From Mars special viewing conspiracy on the left.
Nice.
Okay,
no worries.
Chat.
I can answer chat questions. In the
Chat can
meantime,
ask
to
Sophie questions.
buy BadBunny some time. So let me have a scroll through this chat now. And well, the first question that I saw isn't actually really about the video, but it says, please tell us from a scale from 1 to 10 how torturous will this video be for Miss Streamer for not being able to pause.
Oh no.
Well, we'll discuss the video afterwards. It's okay. We'll have a good time. Don't worry.
But I am a pauser, that's for sure. I'm a definite chronic pauser. I'm sure you know this.
Big pause lord. Crystal Cat says, Sophie, why are you so beautiful? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Crystal Cat.
Oh, Crystal Cat. That's very nice to say. What a sweetie.
This is an interesting one because this video is interesting because I absolutely, like, I don't mean to just big dick these guys, but like I could absolutely approach this entire topic from explaining why a real communist wouldn't think any of the things these people think. And like essentially just the classic debunking approach, and get really heavy in the theory. And there is a little bit of citing Lenin in this. There's a little bit. And I could easily do that. And I might do that in a later project.
Well, they are Marxist Leninists. I'm sure they're going to appreciate all those sites of Lenin. They'll be like, oh, thank you, Sophie. Thank you for bringing up our ideology. That's very... It definitely supports everything we stand for. Not at all in complete and utter opposition to it. It just boggles my mind how these motherfuckers... It was more
helpful, I think, to talk to people in a way that I hope, and this is actually very exciting because this is going to be very in line with the mission of Red Planet. Ultimately, I'm talking to people with the aim of getting people to progressive communists to go, shit, we got to get off our asses and get moving, do some stuff, you know. And I think that's what I think the video is doing a good job of that, so we'll see. Sophie, can you tell us more about how the animated segments came to be? These look so lit in this one. Thank you very much, ZloyXP. So they actually that was Nat. Nat spent the last
Nat is amazing
2 weeks or something, at least the last week, just looking at pictures of Alex Jones, pictures of Joe Rogan, and drawing over them. The technique is...
Think of the nightmares you have, like a day of...
It's called rotoscoping, right, where you take a moving video and you draw over it. But we found this program called Ebsynth, EBSYNTH, which you can just draw one frame from each shot, and then it synthesizes the rest. And it usually breaks, and then you have to draw another frame. But like, that was basically the process. And then once we had that technique more or less down, like we can produce completely smooth animations. We kind of chose not to at certain points and like let things get more and more broken because
I
we started
love
to
it.
realize that like Alex Jones ranting about like how humanoids are real while turning into just like a mess of colors is very kind of visually synergistic. So
Oh, okay. So people are saying, wow, link please. If you want the link, you want to give money to Sophie on Patreon, because right now this video is only available to Sophie's Patreon patrons. But after this, it will be available on Sophie's YouTube channel. So mods, if we can provide a YouTube or a link to both Sophie's Patreon so people can chuck some couple dollars toward Sophie, because this is supporting Sophie's livelihood and Sophie's ability to continue making this incredible content.
I spent the last like, you know, I didn't release a video for a few months because I've just been working on this and nothing else. Funds are pretty low at this point. Like, yeah.
This is good to know, because then my community, as much as I hate my chat, they actually are incredible. They really, I have to give them props. As much as they are annoying little brats that don't appreciate so much, they are also very, very, very considerate, and they do give, like, they do contribute so much to the content creators that like, you know, are part of like our, you know, our whole blob. Like, they're very, very
Absolutely.
cool. So like, chat, excuse me, you heard me. I said what I said. I said what I said. Streamer. Also, chat, thank you for hitting the sub goal before this video starts. This like takes a huge weight off my shoulders personally, so now we can sit back and just fucking enjoy.
Hell yeah. Good job, chat.
Yeah.
This is all. I also want one more kind of remark is that this Cringe Corner, Red Planet, organizing interviews, it's all part of a new approach I'm taking to my platform and my ability to help people with what I do. This might look to some people at first glance like it's like almost like drama content. I'm not going to be making other stuff, a lot of other stuff anyway, where I'm talking about other like online personalities in this way. This is a way of getting people to talk and think about social movements and about organizing.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
weird
going to
fine
spend the
line.
next little while like in the same way, like not releasing anything and just working on one thing. I've got other projects like that are going to be very kind of, I'm going to read a similar number of books to the number I had to read for this and really throw time into stuff and research it for a long time. So I really do appreciate people's Patreon support. Like I just want to, I don't mean that just to like court more subscriptions, but like I want to say thank you to my patrons hugely, because the ability to be secure and pay the rent and bills and be able to do stuff like buy a bunch of books, pay my contributors more so they have, you know, more support, do fun, like be able to take my time to do fun stuff like the animations. It's all I think really, really worthwhile. And you know, I think that my upcoming projects will be even more kind of focused politically and getting us towards the goals that we need as a movement and a you know, a growing I think movement is the only word I can think of, but yeah, like a, you know, to help us shape a strong and robust progressive communism, we need certain things, and let's fucking go.
Speaking of awesome, cool people to expand, you know, the movement, Mia Mulder just rated. Thank you so much.
Shit.
Thank you, Mia.
Oh,
welcome everyone from Mia's stream. Mia, how was your stream? Chatters, welcome. Can we get my chat saying hello to Mia's chatters? Welcome everyone from Mia's stream. My name is BadBunny. I will be rebranding soon, okay?
I was literally chatting face to face with Mia on Saturday.
Really?
About Caleb Maupin.
Oh no. Okay, this is perfect then, because this will be a perfect segue. We are about to watch Sophie's video. Sophie has been kind enough to provide us a exclusive viewing that is provided only to her patrons on Patreon. Support Sophie on Patreon, as well as this stream and this community. So thank you, Sophie, once again. This is super, super awesome. I feel very, very privileged. Very, very privileged. And chat should feel very privileged as well, chat. We are watching this video that Sophie's been working on for a very long time, like a year plus, It's called Conspiracy on the Left, and it includes I'm sure the likes of people like Caleb Muffin. So I'm very excited to see this, and I've already seen a couple sneak peeks of like some of the animation work and some other parts that Sophie's been sending me in like Discord, and I'm losing my mind. I'm losing it. It's just like looks so good. So excited. So how long's the video? So the video is 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's not available on YouTube right now. It will be available maybe tomorrow, perhaps. But if you want to watch it today, and if you want to do the right thing as well, you should become a patron on Sophie's Patreon. And we have the links in the chat for you. Mods are providing it. So,
and we'll chat a bit more about the video after it's done.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah, we will be chatting about the video after.
Oh. Woo! Well, that was something, huh?
Oh. Hang on. Oh, wait. Wait. Do I not know how to stream anymore? I guess I don't. Hang on, Sophie. Apparently I'm very stupid. Shh, chat. Pretend it's going well. Shh.
Oh, no.
Oh, you know what? I know what it is. Never mind.
Ah, jeez.
There we go. All right.
Cool.
There we go. Sorry about that. And I also had you turned down for some reason. The whole thing.
That's okay. Makes sense.
This was extremely awesome. And you should be very proud of yourself. This was an incredible project. I can't imagine how much work, and also not just work, but like painful work, both like in a real painful way, but in also like a cringe painful way, like depressing and like hateful way. That's bad, but also, my God, how cringe. Just that cringe is also a form of harm. I'm convinced. Like that's cringe. Imagine getting to like working on this video for a year, all the cringe that you have exposed yourself to. I just like incredible.
I mean, you know, something personal that's happened to me in the last few days, which in a way ties in really closely to some of the feelings that I've been having working on this project, because like Peter is someone who I've known, you know, like you know, not IRL or whatever, but is someone who I did call a friend. And it has been really weird and bizarre to like see someone like that become this other thing. Maybe they were always like that, and they're just like showing what they're really like or whatever. And it's just like that's been some of the hardest stuff. I will say, actually, in order, it's like most people from the gray zone, Aaron Mate specifically, I hate that guy, Jimmy Dore, and then George Galloway, in terms of like the absolute levels of pain watching. Probably because George Galloway reminds me really strongly of my dad. Like my dad was really like this like pretentious old fuddy-duddy who would like roll his R's unnecessarily and try and pronounce things in the language that he thinks that they should be pronounced and shit like this. And so like a lot of the George Galloway footage, like having to look through hours of footage where George Galloway is like sitting here and just like yelling at the screen, like trying to yeah, it's been I don't know, it's been a hell of a thing. Yeah, I don't know. How'd you like it?
I loved it. And also like I'm glad this exists, because like I've been harassed by this crew, obviously not to probably the extent that you have, and also oh, no wonder I feel weird. My headphones are on. Whatever. Obviously not to the extent that you or anyone that like any of your friends have been, but I've definitely had my brushes with this crowd, and I've just been like, I'm just gonna try to ignore they exist as best I can. You know, sometimes they're just in your face, but I'll try to ignore they exist. And while sometimes I think that that's like a means to which a lot of people can like end up losing their platforms. We ignore them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a way that we can protect ourselves. I don't know if it's always the best way or the only way that we should go about this. I think having this out here is like, you can point at it and be like, this is what they are. And we don't have to continue engaging with these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Also, like, I want to give a weapon to progressive communists to some degree, because like that distinction, right, between like focusing on cultural issues instead of real Marxism, it's like, yes, you're complaining about cultural Marxism. Like, I wanted to get people to understand that literally what these people are doing is complaining about cultural Marxism.
That's another thing is and by the way, Chad, I will be thanking all your donations and stuff a little later, but I want to talk to Sophie and do a Q&A also with Sophie, so please hang on. I see that Saber gave me $100 donation. I want to let you know I see that. I see you. That was very, very generous, and a lot of you have been very generous as well. Although Saber was extremely generous, and I want to make sure that I thank all y'all. So just hang tight. You'll have to listen to the content creator give you a personal breakdown and answer any of your personal questions about the amazing piece of work that you just watched. I know it's gonna be tough, but streamer, can I ask Sophie a question when you're done? Yeah, everyone, get your questions if you want to ask Sophie after we're done.
Jordan BH said Sophie is arming us, and literally, like, BreadTube Serves Imperialism is an attempt, as I said in the video, to give personal information about these creators out to harmful people, and also just to like let those creators know that he's dug up this dirt on them and shared it to everyone, which is an attack in terms of psychic damage, which is informational warfare. So if we're going to have an info war, let's have an info war. Let's destroy them. I decided at some point, like, I was working through the project. This wasn't really a conscious decision when I started working on the project, but I've been working on the project for a long time. And I think this stuff was on the editing timeline. And I was chatting with Nat about why the project exists. And I just said to her in plain terms, like, they came after my friends, so they have to be destroyed. Like, they came after BreadTube, but they didn't account for. I mean, Nicole, you know this about me. I'm an info warrior.
That's right.
I'm ready to throw down. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna organize progressive communists. We're gonna shove these nerds in a locker, and then we're gonna take the world after that.
Nice. I mean, I'm totally on board. I want to make sure that if chat didn't know a lot of the references that you were making or that you were outlining, like, or that maybe were mentioned but you didn't say, but like, you know, there's just so much. I want to make sure that chat understands. Chat, when we say cultural Marxism, we're referring to Nazi propaganda. When we're saying the Frankfurt School, that's Nazi propaganda. So these are all forms of Nazi propaganda.
So this is, I need to be totally clear about this, and I did cover a little bit in the video, but like, when you're saying about Nazi propaganda, there was an original Nazi term called Kulturbolschewismus, which was associating being Jewish with communism. And then in America in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Lyndon LaRouche reinvigorated that and proposed this conspiracy theory of cultural Marxism. Like, the first person to use the English term cultural Marxism was Lyndon LaRouche, a guy that Caleb Maupin idolizes. So
is he like a straight up like card carrying Nazi? Or
no, this is what's really tricky about it. So he was a cult leader and an anti-Semite and conspiracy theorist, and he tried to run for president. And he's honestly, like I said in the video, like, I don't want Caleb Maupin to take this as a compliment, but he is actually very similar to Caleb Maupin in just in many ways. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was the first guy to say cultural Marxism as the English term, cultural Marxism, as opposed to Kulturbolschewismus. And like, even if you look up, if you just look up Frankfurt School CIA on your own time, there's a great article you'll find quickly. I think it's called something like "The Origins of a Right-Wing Conspiracy," which details all of the LaRouche movement stuff and explains the whole thing. And it's yeah.
Yeah, some of the people in the chat are filling the gaps like you are. Hang on, let me get CC to work. The problem with CC is I don't have it set up so you can hear what Sophie is saying, and that's my own
Uh,
fault because I keep putting that off because I keep not being intimidated by the whole tech side of things. So let me just start. At least you can hear what I'm saying at the very least. My apologies. When this is uploaded to YouTube, there will be closed captions available because YouTube auto generates them.
Yeah.
So on my YouTube channel, !YT. But like, no, thank you for pointing out the lack of captions because this is not okay, and it's something that I've been putting off because I've been overwhelmed. Lots of things are happening, but it's no excuse still. Like, it's just, I want to let you know it's not an intentional thing. It's just I'm just dumb. Like, I just need to do it. So yeah, like, the Frankfurt School, to be clear, I don't want to get too deep into like having to explain this stuff, but like, if anyone doesn't know, the Frankfurt School is like a real thing, but like, I'm going to read Crabbabe's comment. But the idea that the Frankfurt School and cultural Marxism, quote unquote, are these plots to destroy the world and debase and degenerate society, and people is the ancestor of the Nazi cultural Bolshevism and the Judeo-Bolshevism conspiracy theories. Okay, yeah. I see. Is the ancestor. I read that sentence wrong. Yeah. To make us like basically shake up society, make it more degenerate, make it more less civilized. And then the idea is that the Jews are doing this for a variety of reasons, many of which these reasons are contradictory, of course. But sometimes it's like, so you can weaken Western civilization and feminize the masses so that the Jews can swoop in and orchestrate everything from their cabal sitting in their high up castle. Like, it's just this like obviously very anti-Semitic Nazi shit.
I might do a follow-up about Lyndon LaRouche so that people have more context, but literally Lyndon LaRouche is the originator of the cultural Marxism conspiracy as opposed to culto-Bolshevismus, because like culto-Bolshevismus is a Nazi propaganda term. Cultural Marxism is the LaRoucheite conspiracy theory. If you look up like it even on Wikipedia, like the conspiracy theory section about Frankfurt School is about Lyndon LaRouche, not about the Nazis.
Wow, okay. I remember in the cultural Marxism section of Wikipedia, I used to state that Jordan Peterson was a person that was an advocate for this cultural Marxism idea, because it clearly, the page clearly ties it to Nazism. And if you look in like the Wikipedia editing, like people keep, like some guy keeps removing it, and the editors keep putting it back in. Like, Jordan Peterson fans, stop this. He's clearly always talking about cultural Marxism, and these Jordan Peterson fans keep like taking it away. It's very it's very cool and awesome
Peterson's
and normal.
Definitely a big part of this.
Very cool. So of course by degenerate they mean queer, femme. Yeah.
When I realized it was literally, the video is a recreation of my reaction. Like, obviously it's not a live reaction, but it's a recreation of how powerful a reaction I had when I was watching this stream, and Morpin goes, and that was where the Frankfurt School got a lot of their funding. And I was just like, oh my God, because like people only bring up the Frankfurt, like there are two contexts where people bring up the Frankfurt School: serious Marxists who are discussing theory from the Frankfurt School, and Nazi shit. And I was just like, oh my God, no.
That's what astounds me, is like, why are they always so quick to deny that they're Nazis? Why are they so quick to deny that they're anti-Semites? Is it merely like, are they, since we're talking about the mind of them, normally I would never like want to go into this.
It's difficult.
Feels
it's hard
like
to get a read on Morpin.
Right, but like now I want to know, like, does he know? Is he like to his buddies? Yeah, we can't say that stuff. We can't say that stuff, but that's what we feel. Are they very aware of them being like anti-Semites, or
it's very hard to tell, because so I think that Morpin probably internally thinks the kind of shit that you'll hear from the Golden One. Like, I made that comparison to the Golden One, right? You see the Golden One being like, I don't have any problem with individual Jews, but just the international clique, like this kind of shit, right? I think that Morpin probably thinks that stuff internally, but he doesn't. But he knows he shouldn't say it. But I think it's really hard to gauge, because there's definitely some degree of lying to himself, because he does have Jewish friends, he does know Jewish people, and he probably doesn't have any individual, have any interpersonal relationships where he's just like anti-Semitically harassing someone, like, you know, that thing about like Nixon calling Henry Kissinger Jew boy or something. Like, I don't think that Maupin is going around doing shit like that, but I think that Maupin does completely buy into this conspiracy theory, which it's worth, I guess, discussing again, like the shape of conspiracy theories. Anti-Semites don't tend to believe that literally Jews are actually the beneficiaries of the plot. They tend to think, you know, Dune.
Yeah, I've never seen it or read it or anything though. So, but feel free to say whatever.
All right. Well, but
For the
there are
rest
these
of the
things called
rest of the chat.
mentats in Dune, who are
Okay.
basically people who are capable of like incredible mental feats, and they can do all these calculations and stuff. And everyone who is in power has a mentat working for them, doing their like calculations and strategy and tactical planning and stuff. And anti-Semitic conspiracy theories generally work a bit like that. Like they start with the idea that like different groups have different sort of like superpowers, right? And like the whites are the ones who have like sort of all round pretty good at everything, and then like black people are the strong ones, and Jews are the smart ones, or whatever, right? It's very like Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of picture of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then they think that every powerful party has Jews working for them, and then the most powerful ones have the most Jews. Like, that's the way that these conspiracy theories tend to work, rather than actually believing in a group of Jews who are like genuinely running everything.
It says Truno says liberals also believe this. They see people as Pokemon. People as Pokemon. True. That's a perfect way of putting it. That like these are the little powers. This is what their little like you know, their ultimate is, whatever. Shit like that.
Yeah.
I think what you're referring to is social Darwinism, actually. I think, or at least it's very closely related to social Darwinism.
Yeah, it's like liberalism really does not get far enough away from Nazism. Like it
no,
really,
they agree with the premise. They just feel bad about it. They're like, it's so sad that those lesser people have to hurt so much when they're so, you know, because they can't be productive members of society because they're so mentally ill. It's so sad. We should help them so I don't have to see them. That's like a liberal, my opinion, of course.
So I am not alleging that Caleb Maupin is leading a cult and that the CPI is a cult. Let's talk about someone who might hypothetically allege that. Why might someone hypothetically allege that the CPI is a cult? It's very clear that the people who are involved are sort of programmed to like to disavow their like past and like throw it all out. And I had this like come to Jesus moment, and now I see that Maupin is the real guy who's gonna save us all and bring us communism, you know? It's it's kind of ironic, like people obviously everyone's very familiar with the idea of like a charismatic cult leader. So the idea of Caleb Maupin being a cult leader is very funny.
Like with Trump, people like to push back and be like, Trump is not a charismatic. Like, yes, he is. He is definitely charismatic. Yeah. Just because a lot of us find him to be annoying or cringe or not charismatic for you doesn't mean that he still isn't. Like, he clearly has a charisma that sells his shit. Like, that's what he's relying on, his charisma plus the fascism, which, you know, oftentimes needs charisma to sell it, because otherwise you just look like a lunatic who is like you have to like sell it in a way. Caleb is like the anti-charisma. Like it's nobody could find that charismatic. Like literally nobody.
Well, it's like people say about the email scams, right? And it's so obvious.
Oh my god, when you got to the emails.
Only people who are like, oh, the Max strikes again. That's one of my favorite things. But no, it's like the email scams, right? Where it's so obviously a scam that only someone who is very foolish and gullible would fall for it. And if you watch Peter Coffin, like talking to Caleb Maupin or talking about Caleb Maupin, they are so like wowed by the idea that Maupin has done real life stuff ever.
Because he's like, he's touched grass, incredible.
Right, exactly. And I just think about that a lot. Like, yeah, just so impressed by that, so blown away by it. And it's like, is this it? Like, it's all about, it's not about charisma in the traditional sense, but it's about projecting the image of what a real Marxist organizer and activist looks like. He wears the little suit. He goes on and on about like and I worked with Leslie Feinberg and this kind of shit, right? Like projecting a really specific kind of person.
That is a very good point. It does seem like, I can't speak for all the dudes in this kind of like category, but it does seem like with the imagery they use and stuff, it's like they're trying to legitimize themselves with like what a legitimate person would do. They would show up on a show with their name under them. They would stand at a podium and talk to people sitting. They would be like, you know, shit like that. It's like they would have a fuzzy backdrop of says HBO a bunch because they're at a photo shoot, and they would use that as their Twitter profile picture because that's what a successful person would do. Only successful people will get a photo taken of them where they're not even looking at it with like a professional like logoed backdrop, like you're in a red carpet. Like they're always like trying to play a person that is credible.
Exactly. And it's worth examining why Morpin is so ready to attack Dr. Steve Hassan, who is a cult researcher and is tries to style himself as an expert in cults and how to get people out of cults. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Because, sorry, so if people think this is a strange leap I've taken, some background, some people may require, maybe this is obvious to everyone. I'm just going to say it anyway. Conspiracy theories. The reason I said it, the reason it's the cultic milieu is that the conspiracy theories like lead people into cults. That's literally how it works. Like conspiracy theories are Karl Popper said this, the philosopher. Like conspiracy theories are a favorite tool of totalitarian and authoritarian regime control. Like people who want to absolutely control the minds of their followers are like love to use conspiracy theories to make them, and conspiratorial thinking to make them.
Like for instance,
because ultimately it boils down to building a picture of the world where there is a team of bad guys who are working to make everything bad, and so you need to form a team of good guys who are going to make everything good. To be clear, that's why I joke about having an info war with these guys. We're not actually going to make a team of goodies to beat them. But that is very much how they frame the world, right? They are framing everything as like they're going to make their movement to tear down the globalists and whatever. It's also why they swing constantly between saying that they are doing real populism, talking to the ordinary working class, which is just a dog whistle, obviously, and saying that like loads of people hate them. Like it's sorry. So I had to watch all of the CPI.
God, there's so much here. My God, there's so much. Like everything you're saying, I'm like, I have like a million questions and a million conversations we had. Like the whole we'll normal working class people.
I don't think we've said this to chat, but we'll do a separate chatting about conspiracy theories.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Thing. But this is to do with the video just now. But so maybe I'll save some of this. I will save some of this. But I had to watch loads of the CPI conference speeches for this video, and I really resent having had to do that. And one of the things that Has says is like, it's funny that we had to have this security because we're clear. There are so few of us, but clearly we're a big threat to them.
Who's them?
And well, the truth is that them is the Austin Red Guard, an anti-fascist organization who was trying to shut down their conference. Obviously, because they're fascists. Like,
I mean, the guys that are trying to check to see if the baddies are Jews or not, or have Jewishness in their blood. Also, the ones that talk about people receiving Soros checks, and also criticizing cultural Marxism and talking about the Frankfurt School's propaganda. Are you telling me that anti-fascists thought that those guys were fascists? Those guys? That's incredible.
It's
wow,
wild,
people really believe anything these days.
But it's funny, like because I was watching that clip and then Nat said exactly what I was just saying, like. But they say they're populists. Like like the clip was like Has saying there are so few of us, but we're a big threat to everybody else. And that was like, but don't they say that they're populists? Don't they say that they have mass popular appeal to the ordinary?
That is what they say.
Class?
That is what they say. I've seen them like in my mentions trying to tell everyone that no one likes me and look how popular they are. Like they
Right.
try to like always push this idea that, and it's something that Innuendo Studios, in from Innuendo Studios talks about this idea of like being the silent majority, that we have like all these sleeper cells of believers. They're just like they're just too afraid to step up, or they just have to be like triggered with some sort of once they hear our message, it's all gonna, you know. So basically, you're the minority now. We're just the majority, and that's what gets you scared.
Absolutely. Yeah. As I say, it's a favorite tool of totalitarian and authoritarian control, is to tell people, you know, you represent the good people and you've woken up to the truth. Everyone is like you except the people who are bad. But don't worry, they are just this tiny group of people, but they have this massive control over everything. And that's why I said at the end of the video, like, fascist belief about the world is inherently a conspiracist kind of approach to life. And so just calling these guys red browns or tankies or whatever and moving on isn't enough. We have to acknowledge that they're conspiracy theorists. It's really important.
Can I ask that what went through your head in when you're making this to narrow down your video to focus mainly on these types of guys, these like Nazbol guys? Because I saw that you showed like people like Vosh and Destiny. I would argue that there's definitely conspiratorial shit with those communities, the way that they operate with like always this like pointing a finger at anyone that criticizes me is clearly part of a group that's trying to take me down because they know that I'm just so effective and great. And that like, once you know, it happens to be only marginalized people that I'm going to point the finger at and say, you're actually a secret Nazi this whole time, a crypto Nazi. Also, if you don't like me, it's called a Vosh derangement syndrome or Destiny derangement syndrome.
I had to actually cut down even more criticism of Vosh than there was in this already. But oh, by the way, we had to pause, so we got a little bit like lost.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that.
Moment. But no, it was good, quick thinking on your part. It was good for you to check. But we kind of lost the train right when I was delivering some of my favorite lines about the debate bros and how much they suck, which I thought you would appreciate. So
should I go back and like play it?
If you wanna, but I'm not that fussed. But you might enjoy it anyway.
Okay.
To answer your question, so I mentioned this at the start of the video, Richard Hofstadter's essay, The Paranoid Style in American Politics. I've been meaning to write an essay, probably do it sometime soonish, called The Paranoid Style in Fandom Politics, because it's pretty well observed that like people who manage their communities in the ways that these debate bros manage their communities, exactly like you're saying, utilize this kind of conspiratorial mindset and control, and teach people. So we were talking about this with M from Blood and Turf on Red Planet the other day, right? The notion, it's a bit of a played out notion, and it's has itself become a cliche, but the idea of a thought terminating cliche, like cult leaders teach their followers a thought terminating cliche, so that when they're confronted with a criticism, they can just respond quickly with this thought terminating cliche and move on and refuse to engage with it at all. And that's like the entirety of interacting with Vosh stands. But it's also, the entirety of interacting with like Jimmy, fucking doorknobs.
They all tend to like rely on the exact same, some of the exact same like cliches as well, like out of context. Like for a while it was like, I guess now is the new like, I guess it wasn't applied to Jimmy Dore, but I was going to say a Putin stand or something, but that doesn't seem to be a very, clearly doesn't work for these types of guys. But like, out of context, like maybe you're just like an obsessive hater. That's like an angle. Like you're an obsessive hater that's clearly unwell, how much you're obsessing if you like have a criticism or anything. I bet you're going to get mountains of people from these, because this is like one of their go-tos. They're just going to tell you that you're obsessed and you don't have a life, and that like you're clearly
Exactly. I spend 2 minutes of the video talking about Vosh, so I'm very sure I will get a whole ton of it. I'll just read you the specific bit I was thinking of that I thought you would enjoy. This is right after I introduced the idea that basically BreadTube wound up getting flooded with debate bros. The surge in popularity of this kind of content creator made people like me deeply uncomfortable, and by people like me I mean women. queers and other minorities horrified as these toxic, ignorant, and arrogant bros making their bread and butter on harassment, rudeness, and an obnoxious refusal to ever learn anything unless it came at the direct expense of a minoritized creator dominated the space. Politically, these debate streamers are liberals, and not just liberals, but very uninformed, politically ignorant liberals who don't understand why simply calling themselves socialists or anarchists doesn't make their political positions authentically leftist, and certainly doesn't make them well thought out. This, again, driven by the consumer demographic of BreadTube and by the basic dynamics of social media that platform people who are controversial, well liked by white straight cis men, and not people who are well informed or have even internally consistent politics. So that was, I thought, I just wanted to like really concisely sum it up. That's like 2 paragraphs, and I know I'm gonna get tons of fucking comments, like more than anything else.
So
I'm gonna get tons of comments.
Obsessive hater, derangement syndrome.
Yeah. All my voice derangement syndrome.
Or it's
the
gonna.
funniest derangement syndrome to me is when people claim Xanderhal derangement syndrome, because I'm like, I could not care less about that guy. Like, he's such a dweeb. And when his fans tried to copy Vosh with, like, it's so symbolic of what that guy's entire deal is, just a really pale, pathetic imitation of Vosh, that his fans tried to be like, ooh, Xanderhal derangement syndrome. And it's just like, if there was one person I'm confident that in real life I could go, literally, who the fuck are you? And all my friends would back me up, and everyone would be like, yup, it's Xanderhal. Like, that guy's so nothing. It was very funny to me when he and his fans tried to copy the Vosh derangement syndrome as Xanderhal derangement syndrome. So fucking cringe.
Yeah, but see, like, the thought terminating cliches. Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure.
Well, terminating cliche. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Xanderhal is one of yet another person that Destiny de-radicalized. So thank you, Destiny.
Well,
yet another one. Got another one down. Well done. Like, say what you will about Destiny. Yeah, he does. Wow, what a bang up job. This
has been one that's transphobic harassment in the chat. That's cool.
Just ban them. If somebody's saying transphobic stuff, it's a perma, easy. Who cares?
Yeah. Oh well, they've been given a. I'm gonna escalate it. I'm gonna escalate it to a whole ass ban there. There we go.
Okay, super got it. Yeah.
Super got it. All right. What was I gonna say? You know, we were just talking about this just before we started this whole premiere. Was just like, oh wow, you hurt my feelings. Good job. I hope you got what you wanted. You know? Yeah, thought terminating cliches. Yeah, I think it's definitely like I say, I want to write something called The Paranoid Style in Fandom Politics, because like these political fandoms literally like all operate like the conspiracy space. It's all like that all the time. Even if you just go to really basic stuff, like just trying to say, I think this person is bad, the way people try and explain it just comes out like a conspiracy theory. They're bad because they know this person, and this one time, you know, I was in the chat and I said something and they didn't like it, and then they were insensitive, and then they moved on without apologizing to me. And it's just like hyper focus on these details, and so clearly trying to explain something that's very emotional. And it's like, maybe just think about, like, maybe, you know, you got your feelings hurt or something.
Oh my god, that's like... such a good observation. Yeah, it's like this. I cannot, like, this rejection of wanting to discuss like feelings, because feelings are not like allowed. You're not allowed to feel feelings. You're supposed to be like anti-feelings because you're like the hyper rational ones. And so you're gonna explain it all in this like very tactical, very like abstracted from like the actual what it actually is. It's, if someone says something to you that's like shitty, the problem isn't that like the words are shitty it's the effect they have. Like the shit that why is bigotry bad? Well, a lot of it is feels actually. Like,
yeah, this is why I've been saying, like, the way we need to interact online between, like, say us and chat, right, is interacting like we have friends who don't know each other very well. Be nice, but like, you don't know me. And if I do something that accidentally rubs you the wrong way, I don't owe you an apology, even if it's tied to a way in which you have a marginalized identity. Because, like, I've literally had this with cis people who I've been interacting with, and they've like accidentally misgendered me or something, and it's like, they literally don't know who the fuck I am. That's what's going on there. Like, not interacting like you and I are right now because we're friends who know each other, right? But interacting in the exact way that we interact with chat. interacting like friends who don't know each other.
Hmm.
And if I hold a grudge over that, like that's really more to do with me than it is to do with them, you know. I was gonna say one of the most cursed things that's been involved in my research for this video is watching Haz and Destiny slap fight each other for weeks on end. I don't know if anyone here is aware of this, but like they've just been like insulting each other's appearances, and it's like the two most insecure men on the internet, just like in an infinite quote tweet chain.
That could
just
very well be
making
the
fun of each
two
other's
most.
appearance
Yeah.
back and forth forever. Like you're bald and short, you're small, just over and over and over and over and over again. It's just like it's so
You're short, but no, you're short, but yeah, okay,
yeah,
but you're
literally,
short, but yeah,
literally.
okay, sure, but you are short.
I
Forever.
posted a meme about it the other day where it was literally like it was those lobsters fighting and all the people like betting over it, and I labeled it as like has two holes, density, lib chuds, pat socks, and me, like because it was just like no one is winning here except me, because I get to see these guys like label each other with increasingly funny names,
It is
which
really
are
funny.
genuinely funny to me, even though like they are often very insensitive and bad. But like, you know, they're all just getting infinitely hurt and just like psychically damaging each other forever. And I'm just like, you know, like Destiny calling him the comb over commie, and then Haz calling him Benjamin Bonnell, like Benjamin Button, because he's insisting that he ages backwards and has the body of a child and shit like this. And I was just like none of this is going to be my video. None of this is relevant, but I can't stop looking because it's I'm just staring into the void.
It kind of is like, apart from being deplatformed, I think this is like probably the best way for these guys to like continue their careers, because it's like watching, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like watching people fail like on live TV, just like, but this is a whole nother thing. I just think it's like if you, because I don't pay attention to these guys, I try to like, I've blocked them all, I try to ignore them, but every once in a while like their shit will like show up in my timeline somehow, and I'm like, oh shit, this is like, they're like still obsessing over this like marketplace of ideas shit, like name calling shit, like Epic owns I destroyed you stuff. And now it's like, it's getting like to such an extent that it's like they're running out of new ways to like amaze people with their like magic tricks, and everyone's like, okay, we've seen this shit and we're over it. So now they'll like try increasingly like more and more like, I guess, lowly, like pathetic ways of going about it, because that's kind of like the thing in content creation. And I'm sure you felt these urges, not these urges, but like this pressure that like in order to increase your subs or to increase whatever, there's like this pressure to do like really inflammatory things for attention.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely played with it in my head a little bit, and then I've just ultimately just been like, I'm just not that person though. I just couldn't.
I can't do it either.
Humiliate myself that way.
I can't do it either. And it's like, that's the thing is, I know that if that day ever comes, I'll just have to quit streaming. Because I'm unwilling to do that. But some people make their careers out of like, however they got there, just like, sometimes it's little steps. Sometimes it's like you do one big inflammatory thing, you see how like much people love it, and then you're like, I'll do that again, but I know that I'm not cringe, it's different. And then pretty soon you're a person that's like meeting up in real life, standing back to back to see who's taller, and like that's your what your life has become. It's like, all right, I guess.
don't know if you saw that Haz went to a real place to try and fight someone from Destiny's community, and they were very obviously just trying to wind him up the whole time, and obviously had no intention of going the whole time. And then he just went there in the middle of the night and filmed himself walking around being like, he didn't show up, he's a pussy, and it was just I mean, I stick to it. The two most insecure men on the internet. That's it. That's literally it.
Yeah, so like, apart from being deplatformed, I think this is the most humiliating way that these guys could like. Yeah. This could be more humiliating. Deplatforming I would prefer for everybody. I think it's just a better, healthier decision for literally all parties involved. I don't think these dudes are happy, healthy people. But apart from that, this is quite a failure and humiliating. Jesus
Yeah, I
Christ.
found out from a friend. This is maybe tangential, but I hope you can kind of see the point that I'm linking this back into. Like, I found out from a friend who has a podcast that Peter Coffin, when they released their last book, which was about cancel culture, had emailed the podcast and asked them if they wanted to interview Peter about the release of their new book, because it's like a generally lefty sphere kind of thing. But it's like, well, I mean, firstly, like it's a podcast that like various breadtube people have been on multiple times. So I don't know why Peter imagined that they'd have any kind of inroad there. But secondly, like because of that, they'd sent a free PDF of their book, and it turns out that the book is like the book is 40 pages long.
Wait, how many pages was your script for this video?
41.
Okay.
And but my script is, well, pages doesn't entirely cover it. Like, so my script was 20,000 words. Peter's book was 1,300 words.
Yeah, because there's so
like it's like that's a very short essay, and I just what I'm trying to get at is like I don't know how you try and publish that as a book. Like
wow, Sophie sounds like you're part of Big Book. That's like my conclusion.
Yeah, clearly I am.
Stop gatekeeping books to increase like, oh no, you're part of Big Paper to increase paper printing. Books need to be thicker. Oh, I wonder who benefits from that. Sophie.
Clearly. That's why I have all these big books, is because I just hate trees.
How can you, a book owner, think in an unbiased way about this?
Yeah, I guess it's just that, like, what I'm trying to compare this to is what you were saying about like doing inflammatory stuff for the attention, because it's just like I cannot imagine myself publishing that and trying to call that a book. Like Jordan, yes. But I cannot imagine publishing that and trying to call it a book. Like, I found that to be, in all of my researching all this stuff, like I've seen so many times when, for example, the has and density stuff was relatable in that they both looked bad and they were having an embarrassing slap fight in front of everyone. I've done that online. Everyone's done that online. You know, Morpin taking himself too seriously. I've taken myself too seriously, you know. But it was just like, what? Like, you're trying to, like, this is so, I don't know. I'm having trouble describing it. It's what you were saying about, like, trying to just take the easy option, and then some amount of shame, like, stops you. And then realizing that these are people who are in some ways just kind of post-shame, while at the same time being constantly so embarrassed and constantly embarrassing themselves. And every time that anyone owns them, they have to share it with everyone.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It's like they're post-shame, but also they are shame at the same time somehow, and unbelievably. Okay, so
the way I described it to Nat the other day. The way I describe it is, it's like Diogenes, the philosopher. Like, he was the cynic, and he liked to question everything. And there are lots of stories about these stunts he pulled in questioning things and questioning society and why we do things the way that we do. And some of those stories are fun. Like, he, lived in a pot and he only had a bowl and nothing else to his name. And then one day he saw a child eating, drinking from his cupped hands, and he smashed his bowl to bits, going, "What a fool I've been!" Like, realizing he could have even less. And stuff like this. And that's kind of interesting from a philosophical standpoint, to imagine someone who just rejects everything as their default and will only move forward if they can have it proven to them that something really is useful and matters. But then there are other stories that are like, he used to just masturbate just in public, because he wouldn't accept anyone's explanation of why that was a bad thing to do. And I'm like, obviously, this is a guy from the Iron Age who I'm sorry, that's not to excuse his behavior. That's to say, we don't know if that's really true, because it's such a long time ago, and this is all oral tradition rather than written records and whatever. Like, this isn't his arrest record from Athens. This is just something we heard about the guy. But supposing that's true, right? You have to imagine this is a guy who is just, that's sexual, like that's assault, like to like masturbate in front of people without their consent. And he's just doing that, and he must on some level be ashamed, but he won't stop until someone can explain to him why he should. And that's what I feel like these guys are all like. It's some kind of attempt to search for truth, and it's some kind of attempt at cynicism and skepticism, but like you're just debasing yourself because no one will give you a reason why you should stop.
That's fucking dark.
To some degree, this video is an attempt to give people a reason why they should stop.
Could be. I mean,
in all seriousness,
I doubt this, but I want to leave the opportunity open for these guys to have a wake-up call from this video.
I would love that. I would honestly love for any number of these people, not Caleb Maupin, he's evil scum, any number of these people to turn around and wake up and be like, like, oh shit, I was wrong. And actually, I want to get in on progressive communism and helping people, and or I'm just going to log off and I'm just going to delete everything from me online, and I'm just going to spend the rest of my time in a paid position in a union somewhere trying to help people's lives better, like make people's lives better on an individual level, Yeah.
Oh wait, Go says, I mean, that was literally the N-word Andy argument. The quote, I'm going to say it, I'm going to continue saying it in private until you can explain to me why it's bad. Yeah, so I think there's an element there as well of like, having some sort of like, I don't know, there is some sort of like satisfaction of sorts in it for them, like at the very core, that is, you are racist, or maybe you enjoy the masturbating in public. But I think there's also it's also it's like debasing yourself beyond. It's just such a this is like a kind of a really difficult thing to pin down.
That's what I've been struggling with for a really long time with this project. It's literally it's hard. It's genuinely hard. I'm just like, how do you explain to someone, for example, that saying the N-word is really bad? If they, the best you can do is imagine yourself as them and then try to explain to that person. But if they are fundamentally different to you in some way, which I'm not sure that human beings are, like I think human beings are fundamentally share some sameness, but maybe your imagination is limited and you still are trying to imagine yourself too much as yourself doing that thing and not imagine yourself as them doing it. But like, the N-word, like, okay, imagine, I'm not explaining this to you, obviously you know not to say the N-word, but like, imagine there was a word someone could say that meant you aren't human. You are less than human. You're like a dog, like a thing that could just be put down on a whim, that is used by people. And they can just say that, all of that in one word. And you know that people are saying that about you behind your back. And you know that some number of people think it when they see you. Right? Wouldn't you want them not to? And if you wanted to be friends with a person, right? And this word applied to a group of people who you are a part of. If you were going to be friends with someone who isn't in that group, you would want to know that they never thought the word or never said the word even when you weren't around, wouldn't you? And that, like I say, that's me imagining myself. Like I'm trying to explain that to an imaginary version of myself who doesn't get it, And maybe my imagination is limited. It's like, it's genuinely difficult. How do we explain stuff to people when they are so far gone with this shit? It's really, it's genuinely difficult. It's genuinely really hard.
Something else I just thought of when you're talking is like, in both scenarios with like the masturbating in public and like the N-word shit, it is trying to demand that you remain the like arbiter of society, and that you remain the person in power that other people have to go to plead their case to. Which I think I'm trying to fit it in with like the Caleb Maupin type shit.
Right.
And I'm having a hard time doing it, but I do think that I just wanted to throw it out there before I forget that thought. I think part of that part of, I think maybe this helps to justify the debasement.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But the reason I say Caleb Maupin, the reason I say any number of these people can come around and be good, but not Caleb Maupin, is that I think that Caleb Maupin is the top of the pyramid. Everyone under that is like these kind of person that we're discussing, who doesn't understand and keeps on debasing themselves. And Maupin is something else. I think he's a predator. He's manipulating these people in a really vile way.
Ew, and he's so fucking blah. How the fuck? Incredible. Yeah. Like, he's such a horrible, like, dead personality. I never thought he was that instrumental. That's actually fascinating. What the fuck?
Well, yeah, I mean, I said this in chat while we were watching, but when I was talking through those lines, explaining why the banality of evil is an important concept and why it's so hateful what Maupin said about it, like, when we were filming those lines, we had to record it like 15 times or something, and it's a very, very emotionally intense segment, like explaining ordinary people did feed their people they knew and looked in the eye into the fucking meat grinder. Like, yeah, and Nat and I were just crying and crying, trying to like get through these lines. And to think of someone who just so casually writes this thing and is just like, she thinks that ordinary people are Nazis, and it's just like, you don't believe that. You are saying that deliberately to manipulate people.
Yeah, that's another level of like evil. Yeah. He's not gonna wake up to like, oh, that was wrong. It's like, yeah, he knows it's wrong. That's the point. Mm-hmm. Jordan says that he's the human embodiment of a badly written email that tricks our grandparents.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wrote that thing about, like, you know, every new sentence Alex Jones says is a test, right? Because if Alex Jones says to you, they've got these baby organ harvesting plants now, and 97% of every vaccine is all baby parts. So when you're getting the vaccine, it's all baby parts. Like, if you're listening to that sentence, like, and no part of your brain goes, oh, this guy is insane, then you are the kind of person that Alex Jones can get money from. So great, you are now in his audience, you know? And the next sentence will be like, in China now they have these humanoids and they put the chips in them and they want to put those chips in you too. Like, and it's like, so at what point do you go, oh, that's not fucking true? Like, you know, it's.
But I think your description of the abstract painting was really good to describe this. It's like the smudge thing, which I fucking love. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna steal that. Chat, if you missed that, I'm gonna butcher it totally. But you were saying, like, if you debunk like part of this, it doesn't matter because it's like an abstract painting. If you like smudge a corner, it's not like the entire thing. I forgot how you put it. It was so perfect. We
think of conspiracy theories as being like a house of cards, and if you debunk a fact, you can pull out the bottom of the house of cards and bring it all down. But to a conspiracy theorist, it's much more like an abstract, an impressionist painting, just telling them what they already believe and know to be true. And when you debunk a fact, that's just like smudging one brushstroke, and it leaves the overall impression unchanged.
That's also if you want to tie in like people like Bosch and the like, if you show, hey, this is a clear example of fucking horrible behavior coming from this person, it's a clear example of like absolute unadulterated like transphobia.
Oh, well, that must have just been one mistake he made.
One mistake, or it was out of context, or like you have an agenda or whatever. It is that smudge. It's just like, no. I interpret him as awesome, and whatever way that I need to like warp myself to make that work is fine. Yeah. Because that's the end. That's the whole goal. We just find a way to get there.
Yeah.
I think we can all relate to this logic, by the way. I don't want to make the point of saying like only those people think this way. We all suffer from this kind of thinking, chat. And this is why I appreciate Sophie, you talking about all this, like so much shit in this video. It wasn't just these guys bad, whatever. I think a lot of people in the chat can relate to like some of the things that you're bringing up. I know people that I've think have a lot of great ideas, believing in a lot of these things. And who's to say that, you know, certain things I'm not sure, maybe they are right, maybe they're not. But like, I think we can, the takeaway I want to just put out there is that we all suffer from this type of thinking, and it's really tricky. It's really tricky to like, to know, am I getting duped by somebody trying to bring up, say, bring up these details that make me feel uncomfortable? Do I just find a way to get rid of them, or do I take them like seriously and be like, oh, that is a really good point. Oh, that is a good point.
Well, it's just genuinely not how human brains work. This is why I said this thing about normative similarity, historical similarity. People around you believe it, and it fits in with the picture of the world that you already have, right? And so, to take the example I used in the video, the FBI killed Martin Luther King. If I was presented with evidence, like someone was like, look, Sophie, here is a file of details of the case. Look, this is James Earl Ray writing in his diary, I'm gonna kill Martin Luther King tomorrow, the day before. Here is the gun he bought. Here is the ballistics report of the gunshot.
I would not believe that shit. I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the FBI fabricated all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just would, because I believe it. Like, because I believe the FBI killed King. And I do believe that, and I'll repeat what I said in the video. I'm not telling other people to believe it, because I'm using it as an example of something that I believe that I know is not proven.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not telling
I appreciate you
people
bringing
to
it up.
not believe in an unproven thing.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is,
I'm using it as an example of something that literally is a conspiracy theory, but I think so many people agree with, and I don't think they're wrong to, because I agree with it too.
But I think that kind of thinking can also serve to be protective, which is like really kind of creepy and scary to think of, because I think it's a good thing that we don't hear someone say, oh, the State Department investigated itself and found out that it didn't in fact do these things. And it's like, okay, well then that's good. Then we off the hook. The fact that we reject these things by default, and then just like, I think that serves I think that's useful. I think that can be a really big time saver, and like put you maybe save you like for your safety or your life or something. Because if you get involved with these groups, if you start to like, if it's a fascist that comes to you and starts like pulling you in, either you're going to become one or you're going to put yourself in like harm's way, or both. Who knows? Like there's a lot of risks to this shit.
Like you have someone like H Bomber Guy or whatever who makes a really long thing, really well articulated thing about like vaccines. And what's great about that video is how he's progressed since his earlier video making career, because there was definitely a point at which he was just being like, we just have to be skeptical and we just have to look at the evidence. And I feel like at some point he understood that that's not how human brains work. And that's why the vaccines video, he goes into the gritty details of how Andrew Wakefield abused children, because he knows that the people who believe that vaccines cause autism believe it because they care about kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to go, this guy abuses kids. So if you believe in this conspiracy theory, emotionally, this is the thing that's going to turn you away. And that's very clever. You know, when you start to understand that this is how human brains really work, you can understand how to really make a compelling argument. Because facts evidence doesn't actually really shape our like reality. It's not actually true.
But it is that is the way that men like to think that their brains work. When I say men, I don't mean only men. I mean the toxic masculinity, which is the even if you're not a man, it still is going to be in the air you breathe. It's still going to be the thing that you're taught is like, you know, that's the sign. That's the show of power. That's the show of like, you know, strength or whatever. Toxic masculinity will tell you that emotions are weakness, that only women have them. And so like real men don't really have any emotions, or they don't falter by these emotions. These emotions are lying to you, and you just have to reject them. And a true objective strong man brain would do so very easily. And so it's actually a big weakness if you even admit that feelings are involved in anything.
One of the reasons that I really, really love the Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski is that the witches are taken as young boys and horribly brutalized by the other witches. And then only some of them survive the trials, even, because that's how brutalizing it is.
Oh my God.
And they are told from a young age that the trials remove all emotions from them. And they're not told how, and they're not told, oh, that's the point at which you now have no feelings, but they're just told that's a matter of fact. You won't have feelings at the end. And it's demonstrated throughout the series, but without commenting on it, that Geralt is a really emotional person, an extremely emotional person. And by the end of all the books, he's just very open and honest about the fact that he has feelings and that his feelings were not removed, right? But the whole thing, like the whole of the Witches, like it's a metaphor for toxic masculinity. Like it's an incredible book series, honestly.
Wow, that is fascinating.
One of the best series I've ever read. And Sapkowski is not Tolkien. He's not George R.R. Martin. He does not care about like And that guy that they rode past in the village was called Gord Blark, and he had a family that had lived on the continent for 16 generations, and his cat was called like, no one fucking cares. No one fucking cares.
I couldn't get
Tolkien.
through.
Shut the fuck up.
I couldn't get into fucking Game of Thrones books because of that. I was like, fucking shut up. Like, you just fucking waste my time. You're just moving on now. Fuck you.
But Sapkowski doesn't give a fuck about that stuff. Like, he doesn't care about lore in the slightest, to the point where there is like a what is it? It's like a country and a city and a king who all just have the same name because he was just too lazy. He just forgot that he named something that already, and then kept on naming shit the same way.
Oh god,
like,
that would fuck me up so hard.
Like, in the final book, the final Witcher book he wrote, there's a character who studies The Witcher and the lore of all the other books we've been reading all this time obsessively. They live like 1,000 years later, and they've been like studying it their whole life, and then they finally get to meet Geralt because he comes through like a time portal, and they're like, oh my god, I love you so much, I know the name of all the Witcher spells, I know your horse's name. And he's just like, do you get what the story's about though? And it's just like, oh fuck. Like, anyway, so I will tell a story and then maybe answer chat questions, because we're gonna have a chat maybe next week about conspiracy leftists. But this is the Q&A for the video specifically, and I want to not be on too long because I want to relax for the night. I was gonna tell you a thing. I wrote a reminder when the video was going on, because I said this line about like, obviously conspiracy theories are universal. Everyone can believe in conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are emotional. It's how the human brain just basically works. But this doesn't really line up with our observable reality, because we all live in this reality now where we can see the majority of conspiracy theories are right-wingers, right? And it was actually quite funny. I had been reading about this stuff, and then I had a weird kind of Twitter thing with Rob Evans briefly, where he was saying like right-wingers believe in conspiracy theories, and I was like, no, the science says that's literally not true. Like, anyone can believe in conspiracy theories. And and he was really vehement about it, and then a bunch of his fans were really vehement about it as well, being like, no, like QAnon, blah blah blah. And I was like, well, yeah, like right-wingers today in our contemporary context, yes, but like during the American Revolution, like loads of revolutionaries who, broadly speaking, I would say that's the right side of that conflict, believed in conspiracy theories. The original Declaration of Independence included a ton of conspiracy theories about what King George was going to do if they stayed part of the British Empire, that were literally just not true at all. And that's because conspiracy theories reflect intergroup social conflicts. And when you know that, it makes so much sense. And the broad reason why leftists don't have as many conspiracy theories or as prominently is because we have a model of how the world works that explains how the world works pretty well. Like, we understand capitalism, we can explain it, and we don't need to say that like Nancy Pelosi is a lizard person, broadly speaking, right? But like, we're still susceptible to conspiracy theories, and pretending like we're not is really dangerous. And that's why I wrote that line like that. We like to think of ourselves as fireproof, and the truth is we're not, right?
I think there's also people, because my mind goes there, so I wouldn't be surprised that other people's mind goes there, that gatekeeps people based on the fact that they believe in these like conspiracy theories. Like, if you believe in a conspiracy theory, then you're necessarily not part of the left. And this is where I feel like the left-right dichotomy can get really kind of worthless. Yeah, it's a nonsense dichotomy oftentimes, but because I would say like a Nazbol isn't really on the left, but they're trying to position themselves as on the left. Right. They're trying like, and so it's like the whole no true Scotsman shit. For it gets really messy. So I just want to make sure that chat, if you're thinking it, I said it for you. But I still think that there's a lot of, just even putting these guys aside, if you just get rid of Nazbols, there's plenty of conspiracy thinking on the left. Like you were saying before, with the JFK stuff, the moon landing stuff. I would say that the anti-vax movement, not the entirety of it, but there's definitely some anti-vaxxers that use left-leaning
That's why I
shit.
started the video the way I did, with a fake conspiracy theory. I was just like, I know people will just nod along with this and be like, makes sense.
Did I nod? Do you know? I don't think I did. I think I'm just kind of built different, I guess. Chat's like, I didn't nod. No chat. Now every single chatter is like, I was actually doing this. Chat's gonna go hard. I was shaking my head.
Anyway,
oh yeah, Simon. Yeah.
I'm open to questions. Give me your cues so I can give you some A's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the Q&A time, chat. All of you who have questions. I was nodding along, even though I was like, is she talking about Chomsky?
And the answer is that you should start with the beginning, the first one.
Wow.
They're really, yeah.
Okay, that's one cue. We only have a handful, so you just wasted one, Chad. Start the first book. Great job, Chad. Limited cues. You used one.
Joel, Lua, FD, were there any more voiceovers you got for the vid, or anybody you wanted to get but wasn't able to? I can't discuss, for privacy's sake, who I wanted to get but wasn't able to, because every part of that discussion would be really violating some people's privacy. But I deliberately got a bunch of red tubers, right? It was a very deliberate thing. I got Mildred to talk about Morpin. I got Sean to do Jimmy Dore, and Henry, Big Joel. I got to read Peter's tweets, because Peter always had this kind of like. Peter felt that they had discovered Big Joel, because like before Lindsay Ellis like knew about Henry, like Peter did, and was like helping to boost his channel, and like Peter was that way to a lot of smaller creators, like genuinely helping them out. I'm not denying that.
So fucking
but like
sad to see
it
that shit.
inverted, because when Peter started like calling everyone liberals, Henry was someone that Peter targeted really spitefully and was like, you're just a ridiculous liberal soy boy and stuff. And like even now, like Henry tweeted something fairly recently about like that it's funny that Caleb Morpin is labeled as Russian state affiliated media, and Peter tweeted like, Big Joel should be labeled as American state affiliated / USAID aligned / capital aligned media. And it was just like, God,
Who wrote
this is just so petty and pathetic. Like, so I just thought it would be funny to get Henry to read Peter's tweets, basically. I just thought it would be funny.
Wait,
basically.
But wasn't Peter at a rally where they held a fucking US flag up with a big fucking head of Abraham Lincoln in the background? Since when is he like anti-American? I'm so confused. I do not understand this ideology.
We could write a whole ass book about why patriotic American socialism is a nonsense ideology.
It would be an ass book, that's for sure.
The fact that they try to claim to be American patriots and also anti-imperialists is just like baffling. Like, what? Like,
the closest thing I can think of is those Nazi rallies in America for American isolation. No. Yeah, I think it was the American isolationist movement run by, what is it? The America First Committee, which is where Trump gets his America First shit. It was started off as this American isolationism thing, which, by the way, isolationism isn't based or anything, for the record. But sometimes people misconstrue with anti-imperialism, but this was isolationism.
Non-interventionism is good.
But this wasn't non-interventionism. It was like, no, we keep to our own.
Fucking racism, like.
Yeah. It's just it was like American isolationist movement to like prevent America from getting involved in World War II, and in like 2 weeks, it like devolved into a full-on Nazi thing, and like that's like when I think of like the Nazi rallies in America that were run by this committee to celebrate like Nazism, and like it just reminds me so much of these dudes,
Yeah.
And that's the only way that I can understand their ideology. And then that's why it's astounding me that they're always like, no, we aren't Nazis. I'm like, I just fucking stop it. Just stop it. We all know you are. We all know you are. You're ranting about Soros checks and the Frankfurt School and cultural Marxism.
I know, exactly. Yeah,
it's not a brain buster. We're actually smarter than you.
It's not subtle at all. Yeah.
Anyways.
And also, like, fucking, like I say, someone who is liberal but progressive and is still on their journey to figuring out why communism is good, I'd so much rather work with them than, like, I make a distinction, right? There are soc dems who are, like, invested, and those people are fucking psychopaths. Like, people who are, like,
Socks in the
this
Twitter
far,
name,
but
people.
absolutely no further, that's psychotic. But, like, people who are just like, I don't know, we clearly need to change something, but I haven't really thought about it and I don't really know much economics. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can get on. Come on. Just, like, hang out with me. It's cool. It's fine.
Mhm.
And these people act like, you have to have the real dialectical materialism, unless you're Jimmy Dore, in which case you're just fine because you just hate, like, you hate the right people. It's so
What a
ridiculous.
fucking weird collection of fucking people. Like, what the fuck?
I think I did a good job of bringing together, or showing, to be clear, like, here are all the people in isolation, and here's how they are joining together and becoming a more cohesive unit. Because that's the thing during the process of me researching these people that has been so scary. Like, they are really forming a network. You know how we talk on Red Planet about, like, deliberately creating a content ecosystem? That's why we have BreadTube guests on to, like, chat with them, so that, like, the algorithm understands these people are related. And so if you watch a video from Red Planet, then you should be recommended an FD Signifier video, or a Luna Oi video, or a Thought Slime video, and vice versa. And that's how you create a thriving ecosystem. These guys know that, and they're doing it really consciously, and that's quite scary. Like,
Yeah.
they're getting together and sharing their audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because chat, even beyond all the criticisms we have today, we were talking about today, if it wasn't already implied, these guys are fucking huge bigots. Like, they'll target minorities all the time. They'll target queer people all the time. They'll, like, just straight up, like, they've attacked me directly. They're just actual scumbags. On top of all, this is not just like a criticism of, oh, someone said Nazi things on YouTube, which is bad, obviously, but it's also like an aggressive sending minions over to harass women, or to harass, like, trans people, or to harass people of color. It's just like I would say mostly they focus on femme people, though. Like, just fucking just misogyny.
There's a huge misogynistic element to it. It's yeah.
I don't want to undermine anyone's, like, victimhood, though, by the way. If you're not femme and you were attacked by these guys, I am not denying that.
Right.
But just the vibe I get from them, they obsess over, like, misogyny. They obsess over women. They are extremely creepy misogynists. So two holes dude is, yes, in fact, a creepy misogynist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So chat, any questions?
Have you heard about the 800 P&O workers who were fired with immediate effect last week? I have some Action UK-based viewers. Action UK-based viewers can take in Larne on Friday and Dover, Hull, and Liverpool on Saturday. You should share links to that, Jordan. That sounds very cool. I am aware of that. Clearly, covering on a Red. It was going to be in the news, Red Planet this week, but clearly that's going to be too late if you want people to do stuff on Friday and Saturday. So please do share any links to that. That would be really cool. Obviously, solidarity with those fired workers. Mass fires is, mass fire and rehires is one of the most vile, disgusting things that monopolistic employers do. And fuck them. They should burn. Fuck those people. Jackson Hinkle, I have refrained from looking into this guy too much, but like I looked into him maybe as much as has, which is to say, a bit. Like, that guy's banner image is like the Ramzan Kadyrov, like the guy in charge of the, like, anti-gay purges in Chechnya. Like, Jackson Hinkle's fucking Twitter banner image is like the like anti-gay genocider in Chechnya. Like, properly fucking like, these guys aren't actually subtle about the fact that they're Nazis.
Oh, like, they just need to fucking admit it. And not that know what, I don't even know, that would do nothing for me. I'm just, like, annoyed. That's it. Literally, they're still gonna suck. Nothing's solved. But Jesus fucking Christ, what a scumbag.
That's my question posted, I guess, low key. Wait. Sorry, useless teammate. I'm not quite following. what you've written there. I think I've missed some context. I have a question, but it's kind of gossipy. I don't know if I should ask. Was Morpin's dad some sort of investment banker? I recall he said they lived in South America in the 80s. Sounds real sus. I honestly haven't looked into that because I don't really like. I mean, I know I did this thing about like Max Blumenthal's dad, but that was just because it kind of, it was like really especially compelling to like share the Hillary thing. But that's I just found an article that was talking about that. It was actually kind of funny because it was an article which was coming from the other side of it. Like I find it funny because association with Hillary is kind of cringe, but the article was condemning Hillary for associating with Max Blumenthal because he was critical of Israel. So it was, but like, I don't care if Morpin's dad was an investment banker. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Morpin is the son of a wealthy family. Not at all, because Morpin has said on camera that he has been in the same room with Vladimir Putin several times. Like the guy clearly has a ton of connections, and also it needs to be said, like Lyndon LaRouche, while calling people CIA agents, was feted up to the fucking gills and knocked on people non-stop. So I would be completely unsurprised to learn that like while Morpin is accusing everyone of being CIA, he's also like connected to absolutely fucking everything. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest.
To make sure I can like put a chair on top of what you're saying, not saying that, hey, we should dig into people's family like parents and see like where they get money. You're saying that, isn't it rich that the guy who is trying to point fingers at everyone is receiving money or being linked to money, or whose genetic line is connected to someone with money or power, money, sorry, not money, but like also like connections, is actually a guy who is in fact in that position. Like it's just like, who the fuck do you think you are? That's the criticism. To be fair, if your parents were feds or something, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Eventually you can't just have feds all the way down. Eventually someone has to stop being a fed. It's gonna be okay.
What's the most, so Useless Teammates' original question was, what's the most low-key conspiracy theory you've encountered on the left so far, I guess? I'm not entirely understanding what you mean by low-key as a descriptor. But you've added on, as my question posted, I guess low-key being something most leftists might not openly say publicly. Oh, maybe something not necessarily harmful, but an indicator of a bad thought pattern we need to be aware of. Well, here's
that's a good
thing.
question, actually.
I don't know. Like, in and of itself, I don't think that Martin Luther King was killed by the FBI is a harmful thing to believe in, but it is an example of a conspiracy theory. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, there are values we hold. Like, okay, we're all apes. We're just apes suffering with brains that are a little bit too big, and our pattern recognition is like off the charts, and so we get depressed. That's us, right? And emotions are an algorithm that we use to meet our basic needs. Like when we are hungry, right, but there isn't food in front of us, being angry or sad or something could motivate us to find food that is not currently in front of us. Like emotions are an algorithm to help us meet our needs. And ethics are an attempt to look at the pattern of our feelings and understand why we feel the way we feel in relation to measurable evidence, right? And so like ethically something being good or bad or it being harmful, it's like there's material reality, and then there are just layers of systems, and then that's our brain. And I don't know if I really think that, like, if you're asking the people who I think are good, leftists, what do they believe that is harmful? I don't. I don't know that I do. But I think that I think all sorts of individual leftists encounter all sorts of harmful patterns all the time. Like, for example, mass canceling, I think, is a really harmful phenomenon that takes place. And as I said earlier, I think that, I want to write a thing about the paranoid style in fandom politics, similar to Hofstadter's paranoid style in American politics, because conspiracy theories about creators, like content creators and from their fandoms, spring up all the time, and those are harmful as hell. I guess one thing to be aware of is a tendency to strip someone who you see of as an enemy of all vulnerability, like, I'm a trans woman, and I've had people claim that I'm a fetishist, that I'm not really trans, that I'm pretending, and that all is just disgusting. And I've had that from trans people, and it's just like, for whatever reason that you don't like me, I accept it, and I'm sorry for it. Anything that I've done to hurt you. But if you are claiming that I'm not myself, you're taking an extra step, right? You're adding this other thing in. You're trying to create a narrative that fits onto your emotional reality. And no, I am me. I am Sophie. You know, I'm not a fucking AGP or a grifter or whatever fucking shit, right? And so that tendency for people to try and strip people of their humanity because they are bad in some way that you perceive, that's harmful. And I think that's the simplest thing I could say. I think conspiracy theories always create ultimate villains and the potential for you to rise to be an ultimate hero to defeat them. Now, firstly, the potential for you to rise to be an ultimate hero, I said this in the video, is a comforting lie to get us to help kings make serfs of us. But secondly, the original thing, the ultimate villain, that's not real. There are very few ultimate villains in the world, except Henry Kissinger, who I hope chokes. Like, there are very few people who are so legitimately evil people, right? But there are fascists. Fascists are fucking real, absolutely, and they step over a fucking threshold. But like, if someone, say, is trans and is a fascist, don't doubt that they're trans. They're still trans. You know, if someone is black and they're a fascist, right, and they're palling around with white supremacists, don't be like, oh, they must like really hate themselves for being black. No, they could be a proud black person who loves their culture and loves their people and also loves Nazis. It happens. It just fucking happens. And I think the projection into people's psyche is a really harmful pattern that people tend to pick up and run with. So I'd say I don't think I could point to a specific thing that I think is like a harmful leftist conspiracy theory, but I do think that that's the kind of thinking I would caution against. I will say, in my research, I have found truly no concrete evidence to actually point fingers at Bellingcat. And I came across, like, I walked over, like, I ran around Bellingcat a few times in the video. I actually cut out a lot of defense of Bellingcat from the video because I realized it would just make the video unnecessarily longer, and you know, just going and defending people for no reason, you know, it doesn't really add to the video. But like, I did see a lot of the reason it was in there in the first place is because during my research, I saw loads of people, mostly gray zone, right? Mostly people who are running defense for Putin, right? Claiming that Bellingcat, who attack Russia and Syria, right, are evil and funded by all these things, right? And then I saw loads of Twitter leftists being like, now, like, I appreciate, they would say to me, like, I appreciate what you're saying, but Bellingcat absolutely is CIA or whatever. And it would just be like so disheartening because it's like, you encountered something from Bellingcat that you didn't like emotionally. Some kind of reporting that you found personally troubling for some reason, and I don't know what it was. Because every outlet, sooner or later, publishes something that someone doesn't like. And then that person sees someone else claim, they're funded by the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but don't go, okay, so they have connections to the ultimate evil in the world. We need systemic thinking. We need to understand the things we are fighting as a huge thing without mind, memory, or center. We need to divorce ourselves from these narratives of heroes and villains. And that's what I'm talking about with fungus thought. Like, this is exactly what I'm getting at. We have to conceptualize ourselves as these little spores or these little bacteria. It's epidemiological, right? It's mycological. We are just blind little things, and we can form a movement by cultivating ourselves carefully and intentionally, right? And we can act as the memory, but we cannot act as the mind. We can remember things and try and protect ourselves against the same things that have happened historically, but we can't make decisions for the organism. We can't control it like that. And we can't use it to destroy our enemy. You know, we can't, because it's a system. It's an organically evolving system. This was the bit that I said in the video, right? the capitalist media is a hideous leviathan, and the ways that it manufactures consent for inhumanity and violence, both immediate and systemic, are horrible. Journalistic organizations that seek to profit from journalism are controlled, at least in part, by media oligarchs like Rupert Murdoch. And they stick to a line that is not about speaking truth to power, but rather about the interests of people who are already powerful and benefit from the status quo not being changed. But if we focus too much on the influence those people have, we're missing the larger problem, that an organically evolving system of incentives is open to abuse by the rich and powerful, and the people who could intervene to stop it benefit from the way that it's biased, right? And when we understand that problem, which is genuinely scarier and harder to deal with than an evil, sinister cabal, like a guy in a room who we could defeat, when we understand that problem, the problem of the organ, right, is organic. It's organic. We have to understand it, right? When we understand that problem, we can make our own organic solution, and we can be the cure. Okay? And that's what a systemic understanding, cultivating a systemic understanding in yourself is the single most important thing a leftist can do.
Yep.
That was a bit of a rant. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine, because I was trying to take notes of things that I can make sure I address. First of all, I just want to go back really quick to your comments about, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, by the way. Just because I realize you've been with us and giving us so much content for so long, and I know you want to be able to take a break.
We're in this together. We're trying to make a red planet. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, but I will go at some point pretty soon because I want to chill out.
Okay. What you were saying before about like this idea that everyone who is involved in like maybe has like a shitty idea or is writing some shitty shit has to be necessarily paid or like on staff. I kind of think there's some sort of like, there's like a defensive, this is kind of like a defensive mechanism, a defense mechanism. And it's, in my opinion, I'm just working this out in real time. I feel like it's similar to the idea that Nazis had to be actually mentally ill to be Nazis. Yeah. It's this idea that no human being would ever just falter and suffer from like fascism and then turn into actual fascists with no straight up, you're going to be this guy who's going to say these things to the masses. When in actuality, plenty of people do that actually, because that's what fascism does. It doesn't require you to doesn't require a check in the mail and you're like, oh, thank you for the check, I will be a fascist now. You will losing money. To be fascist, you'll be fascist.
I think the line is from a Werner Herzog film, I think, but I'm not sure. And it's just this old Jewish guy says, people say Hitler was crazy. Hitler wasn't crazy. He was stupid. And that's it. That's it, literally. Like, I know we don't like to talk strictly with a kind of notion of intelligence, which is used in a very ableist way, but literally, fascists, more often than having some kind of some kind of mental illness that detaches them from reality, mostly they're just kind of gullible guys, who aren't very good at understanding the way that things really work. It's not really that. Yeah, exactly. And they're not paid, and they're not. The incentive is understandable on its own.
The incentive is power too.
Yeah.
Like whiteness, you don't have to get a check by big racism to be a white person that has an incentive to continue white supremacy. I mean, these systems have built-in incentives and built-in power structures. That's kind of the basis of the first step to understanding any of these systems is this analysis, which is always why I am very suspicious of anyone who genuinely starts to what some people are saying, fed jacketing someone. I don't know if that word is worthy of actually gaining popularity, but this what it means is to assign the idea
someone of being tied to the cause or the
accusing someone of being a fed, or accusing someone of, I guess, with Caleb Maupin shit, receiving checks from Soros, which wouldn't be fed jacketing, but it would be something similar. If
I found out that Max Blumenthal and Caleb Maupin, and I include Max Blumenthal in this because maybe this is one for our discussion next week. I think Grey Zone are terrifying. I'm genuinely, they're scary people. If I found out that Caleb Maupin and Max Blumenthal were receiving checks from the Russian, foreign department or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised but in another way I would, because I would be like, but I've looked at these guys and I've seen the way that they talk and I understand their motivation based on that. So if I found out that their whole motivation was just they got a check, I'd be like, well, that's kind of disappointing almost.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you're right. It's like, oh, okay, so you're just
they just get money? Okay. I thought they were more into it than this. I thought they had more kind of invested, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah. And I want to make sure I talk about one more thing before maybe we'll take one more question from chat or something, or maybe we'll just cut it here.
I want to make sure that people don't feel like they've missed out a chance. If we see questions, I want to answer them.
I want to speak to the I want to first thank you for talking about the probably very uncomfortable to talk about, like, allegations that people levy toward marginalized people. In this case, levying the allegation that you're like fake in your trans and being a trans person.
Like any serious number of people have ever said that.
But it's disgusting.
I've seen some people, like a person say that. And
But I've seen people say this about other people, like questioning someone's true queerness. Like, are they seriously queer, or is this just an act? And when you're saying that these are people trying to project into someone's psyche, or trying to figure out what's their real motivation.
I've seen people say it about like ContraPoints or whatever.
But I feel like these are
anytime that anyone is like really invested in hating a trans woman, they accuse her of being a man. Mm-hmm. Big shock.
Right, but I think that what's happening there is, apart from bigotry, I guess I just have like a small theory, I suppose, that similar to like other conspiracy theories, the theory that somebody will come up with does have a large amount of them in it. It is a large amount of projection. For instance, I get called a grifter all the time. I get called like a grifter that's faking being a lefty because I'm doing it for money and attention, which to me, apart from the fact that many of the people saying this to me, I would argue perhaps maybe that's who they are. Like, I don't want to go that far, but like, if anyone's a grifter, I don't think it's me. I think it's maybe you. But I think that sometimes those people are projecting this like very bigoted view of women. As women have nothing good to contribute. The only time they're ever like in the public eye is because they're trying to like maliciously get something, extract something, and trick men into giving them something. And they will fake. It's like a stripper at the strip club will fake liking you, but they're really just doing it for money. So I think there's a very sexist.
Roz is right. Can I say Roz is right in chat? Roz is saying Davo, right? It's deny, attack, reverse victim order. It is. It's just a classic.
Oh, thanks, Violet.
It's the abuser manual. You just deny anything that you've ever done to them. You deny any kind of claim that they have that you've done anything. You attack them, and then you reverse victim order and claim that they are victimizing you in some way. And it's just like, it's just
anyone who knows has done like a really incredible job diving into, I don't know about specifically the Darvo model, but something is basically the Darvo model. It's like a fantastic channel if you haven't checked it out already. But I want to comment on like what they're saying about you. I think that people that are insisting that you're secretly not trans, I think are questioning potentially the legitimacy of being trans itself, because a lot of Turks will be like, you're not trans, you're mentally ill. You're not trans, that's not a thing. Or like they'll treat it like it's, but like
now you're speculating about their psyche. See?
Perhaps. But I think that like my speculation is correct is the difference. So you don't have to worry. But what I'm trying to say is I think that these types of, first of all, chat, don't ever accuse people of being fake trans or anything. I know none of you need to hear this, but I just want to put it out there in case there's anyone that needs to hear it. Even if you think that person's faking it, it's just not like, if you truly are like, oh my God, they totally are. It's not worth it, because you will hurt people that you care about, or you should care about, in actuality.
Either one day you will find out they were faking being trans, or you never will. And in the meantime,
who's been
claiming
hurt?
That they're faking being trans does nothing but hurt trans people.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like the accusations they levy against marginalized people, specifically, I think it tends to be femme marginalized people. And for the record, chat, being femme is marginalization in and of itself. Sometimes people need to hear that. But I think that they're perhaps maybe a projection of their inner bigotries as well. It's not just the projection of like just trying to like undermine you arbitrarily. I think it's like potentially a direct reflection of their own bigotries. Because I don't think these people are actually very queer friendly people or femme like uplifting people. That's just, you know.
Yeah, misogyny is just a huge part of it. But people are saying in chat, Keffels has these kinds of attacks. Keffels has people calling her a man and claiming that she's not really trans and all this kind of stuff right now because tons of people are angry at her for being powerful, for protecting trans kids, for speaking the truth. Keffels is one of the people I admire the most. She's amazing, and like, honestly, like, it just shows to me how much I'm in good company with people like other beautiful and powerful trans women who people attack because they hate us because they can't stand seeing us
Mhm.
succeed and stuff, and that's
Mhm.
literally it.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna scroll and see if there are any more questions about the video.
Yeah, chat.
Chat, is your chance to get in, questions before I head off. Oh, Husker asked something. I need to learn more about LaRouche clearly and look forward to related content, but I see a lot of the Morpinites specifically drawn towards authoritarianism as an expression of machismo. Did LaRouche appeal towards the same kind of insecurities? Definitely. Definitely. You
Hmm.
you see this current modern trend of all the Morpinists saying like leftism is about weakness and we need to have pride in our all this fucking nonsense. LaRouche loved that shit. LaRouche was all fucking about that shit. Listen, this is okay. We talk in vague terms about cultural Marxism. When LaRouche was saying they're the cultural Marxists, they only care about cultural issues. You know what the cultural issue was? Civil fucking rights. He was opposing Angela Davis, who was the candidate for the Communist Party, right? She was a black woman and she was fighting for civil rights alongside communism. And he was like, no, we need to have communism that's just about economics and nothing else. The guy was just obviously a fucking bigot. Like, it's not complicated. We say it, we use a lot of words to say something that is very simple sometimes.
Yeah, I think that in and of itself is a tactic, by the way, to convolute everything to make it be like, no, it's far more complicated. Which, like, say, for instance, Israel and Palestine. It's like, oh, it's so complicated. That's like my go-to when people try to complicate issues that are not need no complication. Apartheid, genocide. That's it. Period. You don't have to go into a whole thing. And some things are just, just a fucking Nazi.
Someone else says, I'm curious if Angie Speaks fits into this. As far as I know, she still does the podcast with Peter. So no, I'll try and be concise about this. I didn't mention her anywhere in the video because she fell out with Peter a little while after Peter started getting sucked into Morpin's orbit. Angie is a TERF now, like a full chest TERF. She was doing a podcast with someone who was actually like a stalker of mine and a TERF for a while. Sorry, to be clear, was doing the podcast for a while, and I don't know if they still do the podcast. I don't know. that person's still a creep. Actually, they showed up in chat just earlier, and their name is Kelly Zahos. And anytime that you see that person who pops up with a lot of different sock puppets trying to harass trans women online, sometimes she puts diaper fetish porn in people's Twitter replies because she's a sick and jealous and lonely and sad individual, and repeating that she is Kelly Zahos upsets her a lot because she doesn't want her name associated with all the vile behavior that she does in case employers see it. Is my number one guess is she probably doesn't want employers to know that it's Kelly Zahos who's doing this stuff. But she is anyway. But Angie was working with her for a while, and it clearly upset Peter. We don't know the behind the scenes situation, but they split a little while after Morpin started getting involved, and then like because Angie and Peter had left the breadtube scene as a pair, and like basically just had each other. When Angie split off, Peter started orbiting Morpin so hard because then Morpin was the only kind of person around
and fell fucking off tremendously,
that's the
even harder
history
somehow.
of it. Like I said, I'm trying to be concise, and I didn't mention Angie anywhere in the video because she's been very clear that she just like she's a TERF, so fuck her. But like she's been very clear that she just wants everyone from BreadTube to leave her alone. So fuck it. Like fine. Like I'm not mentioning her in the video because she doesn't really matter to any of the story, and she doesn't want anything to do with BreadTube. And I can relate to that. Like a lot of BreadTube is so toxic, and I'm so tired.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, like, it has to be said, like, again, right, this is what I'm saying. Don't invalidate people's vulnerabilities and their humanity, right? Like, Angie got a lot of racist and misogynistic harassment from people in the BreadTube fandom. And it shouldn't go unsaid. Just because I think that her views about trans people are vile and repugnant, I don't think that she's not a person, and I don't think that she didn't receive specifically racist and misogynistic harassment for being a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extremely, extremely true.
Also, many of the victims of transphobia also are are also women and also people of color, and so misogyny and racism levied in defense or levied to attack a transphobe is kind of like completely and completely excising like all trans femmes and people of color and trans femme people of color.
I know what you're referring to.
Yeah. So yeah, this would to be clear, that's also a thing. This idea that bigotry is like just kind of like little tokens on a board. You just like shove this one and then you like, I'm gonna sacrifice my queen for this or whatever. I don't know. I don't play chess. Is that a thing? Is the queen, can you do that? I don't know. But it's not what it is. And also it's not that neatly atomized, and also this shit hurts the marginalized people. That's why bigotry is bad. You don't just get to be a bigot because you're fighting a good like a righteous cause, and this is like a free day for you or something. I don't know why people are like designed so much to be bigots. You can
spend at the bigotry store,
right?
in exchange
I can't
for
even
the keyword pass or something.
Oh my god, I cannot even. I can't believe these conversations have to happen. It's actually fucking astounding.
I feel like there's a back from earlier. I was saying this earlier, but like, you know, people saying that kind of shit about me is exactly was why it got a bit hard during the final stages of making this video, because like it got very emotionally close to home, like seeing that people were saying, like, having people who clearly are conspiratorially minded, and it's a kind of obsession with a person who you don't know in person and you only know kind of parasocially, and you're making up conspiracy theories about them. And it was kind of weird to, you know, be working on this video about conspiracy theorists and be like, damn, it's so clearly the exact same thing, you know.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. We didn't really touch on the psychology at all. I mean, maybe we'll discuss this more next week, but like there is, as I said in the video, like really interesting research about how anxiety feeds into this stuff, and how people who are living through turbulent times turn towards this kind of simple binaristic ultimate villain, ultimate hero kind of stories. And it's like
oh, that's so much that goes into that.
It is interesting. It is it. And this is a thing that you might benefit from this language. There is belief defense motivation, and I think it's something like belief clarification motivation. And these are both tied into anxiety. And it's just like the things I believe in, if I'm feeling anxious, I don't want to change the things I believe in. Like the more comfortable you are is when you're more likely to change your mind about something. And the more anxious you are is when you cling to your beliefs. And so like conspiracy theorists cling to their beliefs despite evidence to the contrary, because often when they feel more attacked, and they seek more evidence to validate their beliefs, because they feel attacked. So, you know, they're interesting motivations to kind of think about, and that's interesting language, I think.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, chat, do we do a final clap? Fun clap? I think that would be, I think we've asked your ear off with questions. So, and Sophie will be coming back on my channel maybe in like a week or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I'll be moving soon, so it's going to be a mess. But Sophie will be back to talk about like, having a larger discussion about this. But today we wanted to show Sophie's amazing video and to discuss it. And thank you, Sophie, so much for sharing this with us. This was a blast. I have been so psyched for this, and I have not been disappointed in the least bit, and I'm excited to just like, I don't know, I'm excited for our conversation this next week. Although I know it's not going to be specifically about this, but I feel like it's a really nice like jumping off point that helps me get my feet wet with like this whole situation.
Also, when we do it next week, I will have had a lot of the YouTube comments in, and so I'll know what people are kind of curious about, want to hear about. And so I can use that as a good springboard for our discussion. Jordan is saying support the RMT. That's the Rail Maritime Workers Union. It's one of the biggest unions in the UK. And I just want to shout out the RMT. I know a few very solid people there. And I want to say, yeah, fuck yeah. Support the RMT. Solidarity to them. They're awesome. They Which side are you on, boys?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, chat, make sure you check out Sophie's channel, subscribe to Sophie's YouTube, put on notifications, because the video we watched today is not available yet on Sophie's YouTube channel. It is available to her patrons on Patreon. So make sure you go on her Patreon, give her money. Like, do it. Give her money. Do it. Chat.
I've heard that giving Sophie money is based.
It's
and
very
not
based.
Giving Sophie money is cringe.
Very cringe, yeah. Extremely cringe. Chat, do you want to be based or cringe?
The base cringe dichotomy, that's what you have to ask.
That is, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, seriously, get subscribe to Sophie's Patreon. Give Sophie money. This is incredible work that I want to see continue. And if you want to see me happy, you will go on Sophie's Patreon. That's patreon.com/Sophie From Mars. And also Sophie streams on Twitch as well. And also the YouTube, although Sophie's YouTube channel is like probably the crux of like the hub of your content, because you are probably first and foremost like a video essayist, if you want the term, but you also do surprisingly a lot of streaming on Twitch as well, which I don't know how you have time for everything. And also Sophie is on my channel every Sunday, chat. I'm sure
I do this little show called Red Planet.
Right.
I don't know if anyone here has heard of it.
Yeah. Every Sunday on my channel, this channel right here, BadBunny. Every Sunday from 2 p.m. Pacific to for about 3 hours. And so we talk about all sorts of shit. I'm sure a lot of you have caught it, but it's me, Sophie From Mars, Conquest of Dread, and DJ Mule. And then we have some sort of guest, oftentimes a bread to be guest. And we talk about basically steps from, it's based on the premise that capitalism has failed and communism is inevitable. So we need to get there. And how are we going to get there? Yeah. And talk and observing the world as we get there.
About how you can support sex workers with Kata Monia, someone who I've been a sex worker and a poet and cartoonist and publisher who I've been a huge fan of for ages. Hazine Napkin is amazing. I'm really excited to get her on the show because she's going to have some really amazing things to tell us about how we can support and protect sex workers. It's going to be really cool. Yeah.
So very, very excited for that talk too. So that'll be the Sunday chat. So everyone, thank you, Sophie.
Thank
you. Do you want any last thoughts? Anything about that I missed about your shouting you out and stuff? Make sure you get promoted.
Henry Kissinger. Good night, everybody.
Bye, Sophie.